A very good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. I'm Jeffrey Uzong. It's a Friday edition of the program, and we're here to do what we love to do, serving you the biggest stories that Nigerians, and the rest of the world has been tracking. Good morning, Bukola.
Good morning, Jeffrey. Thank God it's Friday. Somebody's happy here. Well, it's a hazy Friday morning after what was a very rainy Thursday, and it's certainly not hazy within. There is clarity within, and that's why, as Jeffrey has said, we're here to bring you all of the biggest stories and help you make sense of it, and of course, help you make informed decisions. So welcome to your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
Well, we read on the international news how the earthquake, I think 7.1 and 7.5 magnitude earthquake actually rocked Venezuela. They're already dealing with the lots already. So we do not have the exact death toll as far as that incident is concerned from the last time I checked, but there are suspicions it could be in hundreds of people, or maybe thousands, we do not know yet. But our hearts and our thoughts go out to the people of Venezuela. You know, they've been through hell and warm waters, from their politics to their economy, and now, of course, to the natural disaster, which Nigeria, we're quite fortunate. We have our own fair share of natural disaster that has to do more of erosion and flooding. But this earthquake is not something, if you've never experienced it, it's not one of those things you should feel like experiencing. Literally the earth shaking. And Bukola, I saw a couple of buildings, high-rise buildings, cracked, some collapsed, and all of those things that happen. So we're following through to know exactly what the casualty figures are like. But this is people literally racing. The fear, the anxiety, the trauma that this is associated with. I don't know so much about earthquake in Venezuela, but this is quite significant. 7.1 or 7.5 magnitude is very, very significant and can shake the core of anyone. So if you look around the building, there are other videos I've seen. This is even looking good. There are other videos I've seen when it comes to those high-rise, they were really, so yes, that's it. So you see there is a recovery, there's all kinds of emergency initiative to rescue those they could rescue, to recover bodies they could recover. It's just a very sad one, very, very unfortunate, Bukola.
Yes, indeed, Jeffrey. The death toll actually has hit 235, and according to the country's health minister, at least 4,300 others have been injured, with most casualties recorded in the northern coastal region of La Guaira. That was one big earthquake. And indeed, I believe the country's meteorological agency, something similar to ours, is also, issuing concerns about the region, urging safety. But let's get into the details. La Guaira has an estimated population of more than 480,000. The state lies along the country's northern coast and is home to one of Venezuela's main seaports and its principal international airport, making it a crucial economic hub. And that will give you an idea of what that state in Venezuela may be going through right now, as this will impact major economic activity, besides the tragedy of monumental proportions that this has led to. Some of the scenes that we've been seeing are rather heartbreaking. Many families have lost loved ones. Many would have been displaced as a result of the earthquake right now, and perhaps homeless. And as you have said, they've been through some of their peculiar challenges as far as politics is concerned, following the arrest of their president and his wife. And adding this to it, it appears another chapter being turned in their current challenges, albeit this one having to do with a natural disaster. Our hearts go out to the people of Venezuela at this particular point in time. We hope that, a more pleasant chapter opens in the history of this country.
It's very sad. Back in Nigeria, we head to Rivers State, Nigeria, where we understand the governor of the state, Similar Fubara, has ordered the immediate sealing of a site of a collapsed building along Odili, Port Harcourt. So along Odili Road, there's a road called Odili Road in Port Harcourt. So that's the building collapse. They said I think one of the commissioners had visited the site. There were warning signals to the ongoing construction of this particular building, but perhaps maybe the construction company or the engineer ignored the warning signals. So the governor, not quite happy with what has played out, sympathizing with the people. But what has happened now has ordered the immediate closure. I think there's a death toll of about 3 persons or so, if I stand.
I wonder if that's a total tally for building collapse in Rivers and another in Ojo local government area of Lagos, Alakija. There was a building collapse there on Thursday morning as well, as about 11:30 a.m. The Emergency Management Agency has been speaking to that. But let's get clarity. I believe the governor also spoke. So
let's hear from the governor of Rivers State.
Yeah, because yesterday, I didn't come yesterday because I wanted to get the report first. And the commissioner did brief me that incident site first is not as claimed by the developer, is not under the jurisdiction of the state, that is under the jurisdiction of the Federal Housing Authority. He also informed me that when the project was ongoing, that they came here severally to inspect what is happening and also to see the level of compliance. But unfortunately, that the developer keep claiming that we don't have any right to interfere. But the issue is not about interfering, it's about the life that is being lost today. So we feel very sorry and very regrettable that such an incident should be happening in this 21st century. 21st century because technology has advanced, engineering has developed. I wonder what kind of engineer would even allow this kind of project to go on.
So that's the governor of the state, similarly, very not happy, believing that there is advanced technology enough to be able to know when something is being done properly and when it's not done properly. I hope that if there's this was as a result of negligence and human error, what has to be done, meaning the law will take its course. Because I heard from the reports we've read that there were warning signals. So if those warning signals were ignored, that means it's a human error, and that has to be addressed. Now, lives are lost. They cannot be recovered. The pain is going to last for a lifetime. So I feel that what has to be done has to be done. But I don't know Rivers to be a place where building collapse really.
Building collapses.
No, it's not that, to the best of my knowledge. I live there, and even while here, I don't think I've had too many of it like it happens in Lagos.
Correspondent did give us a recap of the event yesterday in a report, and as at that time, only 1 person had been confirmed dead while rescue efforts continued. And she did say that it is believed that people may still be trapped beneath the rubble. So as at yesterday, when we got Deborah's report, it was 1 person that had been reported dead. Of course, it's cheery to note that rescue efforts are continuing and that place has now been cordoned off. However, in Lagos, where sadly another building collapse has been reported, 2 people were confirmed dead, while 16 others rescued with varying degrees of injuries following the collapse of a building in the Alakija area of Amuwo-Odofin local government area of Lagos State. So it's the Amuwo-Odofin, not Ojo local government area. And the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service said the building, which collapsed on Thursday morning, was a residential structure located in Old Ojo Road, just by Alakija bus stop. And of course, that area is off Lagos-Badagry Expressway, satellite town. The incident involves the collapse of a story building, an existing residential structure occupied by multiple residents at the time of the incident. The Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service Controller General Margaret Adecheye did disclose that in a statement on Thursday. We hope that that would be, the state of the report continually, and there would be no further emergencies, and no one else is trapped beneath the rubble. But you see there many gathered just to see as rescue efforts continue to get people out of that particular structure. And this also speaks to crowd management, Jeffrey. I wonder just how safe it is for people to be so gathered around the area. And this is an area that is very familiar to me. This is the area where I grew up. Okay. Many times I have alighted at this particular bus stop, either on my way home from work in the early days or my way back from school. And so it's a very busy area in Amuwo-Odofin local government. And, following the expansion during the time of the tenure of former governor Babatunde Fashola, I believe there was supposed to be some form of setback rule for which some structures would have gone. But I doubt that this particular structure was in the right of way because the 10-lane expansion has since been concluded, but definitely there must have been some concerns around the structure for it to have given way.
Lagos and collapse and buildings is a very, for me, I just feel that at some point, I know sometimes the government, they try to do their very best in curbing some of these things, but it looks like the more they do it, the worse it gets. But there's been some, because I remember there was a time it was like every other time, every other week or every other month, you're hearing about building collapse in Lagos. That's what I'm saying compared to River State. The incident in Lagos is a lot more. Perhaps people are building without authorization, without clearance from the authorities, and sometimes the authorities themselves may be complicit in allowing these buildings to go up. Even the governor at some point, I think, admitted to the fact that they could have done more. I feel that at some point, the Lagos State government, with the ministries that are responsible, should come up with maybe a grand plan of evaluating, literally, I don't know how many buildings there are in Lagos, as many buildings as possible within a period of time. Say in the next 1 year, they are going to do structural integrity tests or whatever the names of these things are called, to check literally as many buildings as possible, especially in places where there are lots of suspicion that these things happen. Because when building collapse, people lose their lives, there are loss of lives, and it's very painful to see these things happen, and it's very, very worrisome. So I think Lagos, you are doing the best you can, but you can do even a lot more than what you're doing to make sure lives are preserved. But let's move from there to what excites me. I'm seeing some things from the maybe intelligence agency in collaboration with the CBN and everybody involved with all of this, because intelligence is the first line of action to make sure that insecurity is curbed. Failure of intelligence leads to the disaster we experience, or ignoring intelligence leads to the disaster we feel, or the disaster, by disaster I mean kidnappings, killings that happen. We've read now that the Central Bank of Nigeria has now ordered banks to freeze terrorism financing suspects' account. They released a circular and names were listed, companies and names that are linked to these terrorism funds. The CBN listed 6 individuals designated under the sanction regime as Mukta Mohammed Adamu, Babangida Mohammed Adamu Hamajam, Abdullahi Umeh Usman, Ibrahim Abubakar Adamu Shiroma, and Yakubu Yogrima Ibrahim. It also named 4 Nigerian-based Bureau de Change operators designated as being owned and controlled by the individuals. They are Bureau de Change Limited, Manhattan Bureau de Change Limited, 929 Bureau de Change, and Abal Bako and Sons Bureau de Change Limited. So, good one, good move. We have been saying that some of the people we arrest, some of the people we incarcerate are just foot soldiers. There are people who are the big boys at the top. And if government can get to these big boys, and I will say again, whether they're in this government or they're outside this government, we must find them, we must prosecute them, and throw them in jail or sentence them to death, depending on what the prescription of the law is as far as their crime is concerned. Because we need to show the world that we're ready to fight terrorism. We haven't shown it enough, we must say. But the lines of action we're seeing, impressive. Remember, we still have the children in Orire now, in Ogbomoso area of Oyo State. We're still waiting for those children to be released. I'm sure there are things being done, but people are getting quite impatient to see. Now it's raining, the weather is not quite good for people not to be in their homes. We also have the one in Borno. I don't think those children have been released as well. And maybe there are other ones. So if there are people behind some of these things, and there are people behind them, let's get them. Besides freezing their accounts, let's get them arrested. Let's prosecute them. If it's a death sentence, let the law take its course. If it's a life sentence, let the law take its course. Caller.
Jeffrey, you know, this is coming about 2 or 3 days after the U.S. government sanctioned individuals and firms that help move ISIS funds across borders, enabling the group's global network. And that report did name, you know, some of those businesses and individuals. The sanctions targeted a certain Mukhtar Adamu Mohammed. I believe you mentioned the Mukhtar.
Yes, there are 5
ago.
names, actually.
A Nigerian national accused of conducting financial transactions and money transfers on behalf of ISIS West Africa, an affiliate of the ISIS operating in the Lake Chad region. The sanctions also targeted 3 Nigerian Bureau de Change companies allegedly linked to Mohammed, and they are Faisal Exchange Limited, registered in Kano, Northwest Nigeria, Manhattan Bureau de Change Limited, also based in Kano, and 929 Exchange Bureau de Change Limited, located in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital in the southwest. And, you know, for me, this goes to question whether or not that was a proactive move rather than a reactive move following the U.S. sanctions on this particular Nigerians. And then another question that one would naturally ask is that are these individuals fronts for the real financiers, the real sponsors of terrorism in the country? Because allegations often go that those informants, those who are the big sponsors behind, profiting behind terrorism, you know, may actually be the big guys somewhere in government or with close links to government. So if these are fronts, again, it may just look like it's the symptoms that are being targeted rather than the root cause of terrorism. When the big names are named and they're shamed and they're tried and prosecuted, we may be talking more progress rather than crawling in the fight against terrorism. But whatever the case is, currently, this is one to chair and to continue to look closely at and ask more questions of government.
Yes, so we need to follow up on all of the big guns that are responsible. For me, if you're stealing our money, the EFCC should come after you. If you're responsible for terrorism, the DSS should come after you. If you're a terrorist yourself, our military should come after you. So we have all these agencies designated to do their work. All I always like to say, Bukola, is the political will to be given to these agencies and these institutions to do their work. And we may not be able to eradicate it entirely in the immediate term, but we'll bring it to the barest minimum. So it's tiring to see our country being a hub for these activities, literally, that we've recorded. I've always mentioned the issue of ease of mass abduction. It has to stop. Let the Orire case be the last that we'll have to deal with, at least for now.
And indeed, I always say that we must also remember those who are in captivity besides the Orire.
Yeah, we always use Orire as a reference point.
As a reference point,
because
indeed.
The media took up that.
The Ekiti 16 also, and there are those from Kogi State, the Borno, although there were some rescue reports from Borno in the last couple of days about 92 more, most of them women, who were rescued by, I believe, Operation Hadinkai. Yes, were rescued by troops of Operation Hadinkai. And so we commend, you know, the armed forces, you know, for their continued efforts. But the more important point is they require more support in terms of welfare, in terms of equipment from the federal government to empower them and fire up their morale more to continue to do the brilliant work that they are already doing amid challenging circumstances. But we'll take a moment now. When we return, it will be time to look into what the papers are saying today. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's get straight to the papers. The Guardian newspaper is where we'll start off from. Of course, we have our guest analyst, Mr. Dayak, interview. Thank God it's Friday. Good morning.
Good morning.
I was asking you where the party is happening because you're already party ready.
Yeah, well, it's Friday, so the dancing shoes are out already. We just pray it doesn't rain on our parade today.
Okay. All right, so we've been awash with the state police. So literally every headline is going in that direction. But let's say for service or sanctuary, this is the Guardian newspaper. Pollsters over ex-governor's push for legislative seats, but this is slightly a different one. Pollsters over ex-governor's push for legislative seats. What do you make of this story?
Well, it's become a cliche now that the Senate has become a retirement home for for ex-governors coming off 4 or 8 year tenures. But the concern of that report basically really is the fact that many of these ex-governors actually have cases pending against them with the EFCC and are still finding their way into the Senate, at which point then the case sort of goes to sleep. So it's a morality question, really, an ethical question as to whether those who are under allegation or suspicion of having misappropriated public funds, do they have the moral wherewithal to sit and make laws for the rest of us citizens? Is it a good thing? Are they setting a good example as lawmakers, as people who are representing and speaking for the people, that those who are under a cloud of suspicion of having done untoward things while they were in positions of responsibility, there's something called public trust. And if you betrayed that public trust, is it right for you to sit in judgment or in trying to specify human behavior? Because laws essentially is telling us what we can and cannot do. So people who are of questionable character or questionable behavior in the past, should they really be able to sit at this lofty position and tell the rest of us what we can and cannot do? The issue legally, though, is that you are innocent until proven guilty. And so that is the legal cover, that they've not been convicted. They're simply indicted and have been said, you have questions to answer and you're going to have a trial. But invariably what happens is once they found their way into the legislature, the case kind of goes to sleep. You don't see any concerted effort to take them to trial, convict them, punish them. You don't see that once they've made it, especially those in the ruling party. For example, the immediate past governor of Delta State, for example, he was in the PDP. When he was in the PDP towards the end of his tenure, immediately after his tenure ended, he was indicted by the EFCC and told he had a case to answer for, I think,
1.2 or 3 trillion.
Trillion. We're not even talking billions anymore. Trillions. And he found his way into the ruling party. And what I noticed was his prosecution slowed down. And the last 4 years have been in limbo. Well, of course, he did become the running mate to the PDP candidate in 2023, which was more or less a diversion or distraction. But the moment that ended, we didn't see anything anymore or hear anything more about his case. Now, he's won the primary for Delta South Senatorial District or somewhere abouts to become
Delta North.
Delta North. Yes, I know you're from there, so you wouldn't.
No, I'm not from there. I'm familiar with your politics.
Yes, okay, good. Yeah. So there's also the case of Yaya Bello, which, if you remember,
the drama.
Do you remember the drama of when he was at large and he was holed up in the Kogi State Governor's Lodge in Abuja, and the EFCC chairman came into office vowing that he would resign if Yahya Bello was not brought to justice. Yes, he was arraigned later, but all of a sudden now he's holding the ticket for his senatorial district in Kogi. So the issue, the real question.
Sorry, what should... Our law is about presumption of innocence.
Yes, I said that.
So,
yes.
But where should we draw the line between legality and morality? If somebody like Ifeanyi Okowa,
yes,
whom I have a lot of data about his administration because it's there in the public domain,
yes,
he's been indicted or accused of, he should come and explain what happened to 1.23 or 1.2 or 3 trillion naira. Should we be allowing such people to run for anything until they clear their... Should we amend our laws such that people like Yahya Bello, Ifeanyi Okowa, and the likes who have such cases to answer should at least excuse themselves for a season and get their names cleared? Because other crimes, just being indicted, not being found guilty, people just resign, and then if your name is cleared, your name is cleared. If you're found guilty, then you go to pass off the law. But here, it doesn't work.
I don't think you should try and legislate morality. I think it should be based on standards. For example, I think if the parties, the political parties, hold themselves as agencies of integrity, probity, and moral rectitude, they should have internal standards that say, if you're under a cloud of suspicion, any form whatsoever, we will not allow you to put yourself forward to contest for any office until such a time as you have cleared your name. I think that's the way to go, because I don't think, because of that presumption of innocence, it will be contradictory to now have a law.
They will go to court and say the constitution of the party is even the third layer of legislation. There is a ground norm constitution.
Yes.
There is the Act of Parliament.
Yes.
Then there is the constitution of the party, which is an inferior law. So, when they sue the court, sue the party.
Well, the party can amend its constitution. And remember that the courts have said internal matters of the political parties is not their business, that they will not interfere in pre-electoral matters of political parties. So the parties themselves, I actually don't think it should get to that point. Look, the point is that we have such low expectations of ourselves nowadays, to where the barometer is so low in terms of the kind of behavior we expect of ourselves. I think the parties themselves should just have these standards. But if anyone is going to contest it, then of course, perhaps they should legalize it by amending their own internal constitution. But I think on a gentleman's agreement basis, for what the parties stand for, they should be able to say, we don't want to come across to the public as mollycoddling anyone that has questionable public questions to answer. And so we will not be allowing anyone to even buy the form, or be nominated until they've cleared their name. But if it's going to be subjected to challenges, then why not amend the party constitution to say that anyone that has an open case will not be able to run for office?
Well, I'm wondering if there should be more than that, because it appears as if the Senate is a retirement home for former governors, and perhaps maybe it even clogs up the political space, which particularly needs more young and creative minds.
Absolutely.
There should be a fatigue of governors who have already served an 8-year tenure.
If you've served the people for 8 years in an administrative function, it's time for you to go back to your second address and go and do something else. I mean, we need fresh blood. That's why we have elections in certain cycles, so that we can inject new blood, youthful blood, new experiences into the system, so that it gets more vibrant. But when we keep recycling the same old people who are just chameleons, changing their outer garment from governor suddenly to minister or to senator, it's still the same old recycled set of people. So we're not getting any new ideas injected into the political system.
They're not going to like us talking about this right now.
No,
but let's get to New Telegraph.
We're not interested in them liking us.
We don't get paid for them to like us, do we?
Let's get to New Telegraph, and it picks up some of our talking points earlier on. International insurgency fueling Nigeria's security crisis. But this is not trailing the CBN's most recent decision, maybe related to the U.S. decision to sanction 3 Nigerians, but it's coming from NIIA research professor. Let's see some of the writers and get more insight into what the New Telegraph says. Says insurgents exploiting nation's vast territory, governance gaps, others to establish criminal options, and some migrants moving southward are victims of economic hardship, insecurity, displaced by worsening conditions in northern region. And of course, it goes on and on. But Mr. Akitobi, maybe you could tie all 3 together: the CBN's decision, the U.S. sanctions, and this one.
Yes. Basically, this report is attributing some of our security challenges to our porous borders and saying basically that insurgents are crossing the border from our neighboring countries, and because of the instability in the Sahel region, quite a lot of arms, small arms and weapons, and ideologues are filtering through our borders and coming to drive this insurgency. And it's not even just a cross-border movement, but even internally within the country, we're seeing the banditry and insurgency filter downwards from the north towards the south. And that report is basically saying that economic hardship is part of what is driving this movement. Terrorism has become mobile now. Insurgency is mobile. It's not staying in one place, but it's basically moving southward from countries that are at our northern border into our northern parts of the country, and from the northern parts of our country coming down southwards. Now, I've always had this sense that if we follow the money, and that's why I'm happy at what the US did and what the CBN has just done, that yes, we have kinetic approaches, but at the same time, non-kinetic approaches should involve following the money. And you see how well equipped the bandits and the terrorists are in terms of weapons, logistics, fuel, data that they can be posting on social media, and the kind of weaponry they carry. So they're very well funded. And if you follow the money, it should track to the people who are sponsoring this. So it's a good thing that the US has named them, that the CBN has also now said we're freezing the accounts of those we've identified. I think there are 2 individuals and maybe 4 bureau de changes.
About 5 individuals.
5 individuals, yes. So it's a good start, I think.
We're totally out of time, but I won't let you go without 30 seconds take on concerns or worries over state police. The speakers of the State House of Assembly, some of them are already speaking that they will sign it.
Yes.
The National Assembly has done their bit.
Yes.
Hurry, hurry. So what's your take quickly?
Seems to be an idea whose time has come, and everybody seems to be in favor of it. I would like to see in the state assemblies what we didn't see at the national, which is public hearings. I would like the public to be able to have input and let the state houses of assembly hear from the public as to how we feel. I think generally the support is overwhelming, but it's still good for the public to be involved in the process so that when it starts playing out, we all have ownership of this process.
Kintabith, as always, thank you for your very sharp insight on the dailies. And that's exactly what we're starting off with, because we have a senator who is going to be helping us out as to how these decisions were made, what were their consideration, whether it was properly thought through, and the consequence of what we have decided to do, the pros and the cons. Thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure, always. Quick one. My heart goes out to the people in Rivers State who lost their lives in the building collapse, and those in Lagos as well. State. And condolences to their families, and to the people in Venezuela. Why do I say that? I was in Los Angeles in 1994 for the big LA earthquake. Wow. It's nothing I would wish on my worst enemy. An earthquake is one of the worst possible human catastrophes and disasters that anyone can ever live through. So my hearts go out to the people of Venezuela this morning.
Well said. Thank you for coming. Have a great weekend.
My pleasure. Wish you all the same. Good morning, Nigeria.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will be heading to Abuja Studios, where Senator is standing by to join us to make sense of the decision they've made, as well as looking ahead to 2027 general elections. Stay with us.
Welcome back, and so let's get right into it. And joining us from our Abuja studio is Senator Victor Umeh, the senator representing Anambra Central Senatorial District, and of course, an NDC chieftain. Senator Umeh, good morning, sir. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, Buki and Jeffrey. It's good to be here. Good morning, Nigerians, and happy weekend.
It's good to have you, sir. I'd like to begin with the 2027 general elections, of course, starting with the primaries that were concluded some weeks back. I believe congratulations will be in order. You, Senator Tony Umeh and Chief Emeka Onunkwo have emerged as senatorial candidates for the Nigeria Democratic Congress, for Anambra Central, Anambra South, and I believe Anambra North. And, you know, in the light of the circumstances, this appears a feat because we gather that about 40 out of the entire Senate population didn't secure tickets for the 2027 general elections. Help us understand how you achieved this feat amid what has turned out to be a very controversial outcomes of the NDC primaries, with, you know, some members alleging that they didn't even get a ground to contest, how much more a level playing ground, with others, you know, also talking about the caucus in the NDC leadership that is allegedly demanding 10 million naira bribes, 20 million naira bribes.
Well, Buki, thank you very much. Party primaries have always not been a very smooth exercise, in the sense that people who are jostling to become candidates of a political party in an election will always want to be the ones that will be nominated, or those who will prevail over others. When they don't succeed, the natural thing they do is to run around and cry foul that something has happened in breach of one process or the other. But if they had succeeded, they will keep mute. It is not common to Nigerian Democratic Congress alone. Other political parties had their primaries. And you agree with me that all over the parties, there are grumbles, because people who do not succeed will cast slur on the process. We are used to these things in political party administration. But what I will say is that whoever alleges anything will have to prove it. Allegations of taking money from people and all that, the question will be, why are you giving people money to be able to become candidates of your party? If you get into an unholy business and you lose your money, it is not sufficient for you to come and start crying, because nobody compelled you to give anybody money. Like it is said, in bribery, both the giver and the taker are guilty of an offense. And you can't come out to the public and begin to wash your dirty linens in the public that somebody took your money when you are inordinately trying to bribe the process. So the parties have had their primaries. There are complaints here and there across the parties. The Nigerian Democratic Congress, it wasn't immune to such complaints, because people were struggling to prevail over others. But by and large, every political party has its own internal mechanisms to be able to address grievances of aspirants who took part in a process. So if you have a complaint about their own primary, you have to go through the internal mechanisms provided by the party to ventilate your grievances. But by and large, in our own party, we have held our our primaries, and our candidates have emerged. So for 1 week or two now, there has been a lull in people who are crying wolf. The parties are cleaning their houses. And the next stage, today is 26th of June, the parties are supposed to receive their access code to uploading the names of their candidates to the INEC portal. So the whole process is advancing, and I believe that by the time the whole process is over, by the 12th of July, Those who are aggrieved, some already are in courts. And that's the natural thing to do.
But Senator Umeh,
of anything, you can go to court, yes.
Senator Umeh, that there is a law doesn't mean that those who are aggrieved are happy with the situation, with the scheme of things. But for you, is it an animal farm situation, or are you part of the leadership caucus, hence you were giving a soft landing? Did you have to pay a bribe, allegedly, to get your ticket alongside your colleagues?
There was nothing like that. And it's not a case of animal farm where some animals are bigger or stronger than others. I went through the primary. I went through the purchase of expression of interest form. I went through the process of screening. I also went through the process of buying the nomination form. I also went through the process of participating in the primary, in the voting. I was in the voting too. So if somebody says that he has been intimidated or anything, the person probably did not assess his chances properly before coming. For those who prevailed, like the names you called out in Anambra State for the senatorial primaries, those 2-3 candidates, nobody would have beaten them because of their standing in the society and their performance. Like myself that has been in the Senate, you know me very well. And I've been involved in the political process here, and I've been very strong in participating in things that will bring a better Nigeria into being by my parliamentary contributions. So it will be a surprise to you to hear that somebody who is not known is claiming that he defeated me in a primary. So those things, I laugh over them, but it's not that people cannot be aggrieved. And it is not that somebody who has been there cannot be defeated, but the person can be defeated by a stronger force, somebody who people will be convinced about his mission. If you don't have any mission, nobody will look in your way. So it will end up with complaints because you are not present, you are not trusted, you are not being looked at somebody who will give a better and effective representation of the people. So that is the thing. And when some of these things begin to happen, we have to objectively look at the complaints to see if the person who is complaining stood any chance in the process. If it is not so, the best thing to do is to allow him ventilate his grievances and go through the processes allowed by the party internal mechanism.
All right, let's talk about what played out in the Senate, I think yesterday. The big one, which has to do with the issue of state police. That's what I'm most interested in, beyond what is played out in your party, because that has a more national approach on this particular future we're walking into. And my concern are two things, and I am sure the general concerns of Nigerians will be around that sentiment as well. First, whether there are enough guardrails to prevent governors from abusing the process. I've seen some, provisions that has to do with directions being given to, say, commissioners of police. But one thing people are also not looking at is other guardrails that should prevent the federal government from overreaching itself. So I want to read just, let me just say, one of the amendments that was done to section 214, I think that should be sub 14, said the legality, because this provision provides a premise, more like a premise for which the governor, or rather the president, can intervene through this federal police in taking charge of policing in the states at the state level. So it says the legality, scope, duration, and conduct of an intervention under this section shall be subject to judicial review, and no intervention shall dissolve a state police service, or suspend the elected institutions of a state except in accordance with this constitution. In fact, I'm trying to look for, there's another provision that had to do with the president cannot even touch elected officials. When I see it, I will bring it, I'll bring it up for our viewers. But these guardrails that are being put in place, do you think they are sufficient enough to insulate the system from abuse?
Well, let me start by saying that the concept of state policing is a very noble concept for the fact that we have been inundated over time in this country with the collapse of security. You know, the security architecture of Nigeria has not proven to be effective in such a way that people can go to bed with their eyes closed and hoping to wake up in the morning. Security breaches have been very inundating in the past couple of years. And the issue of insecurity in Nigeria has become a national emergency in the sense that everybody has been concerned about what do we do to be able to provide effective security to Nigerians. It is as a result of this that the Senate and the National Assembly embarked on a constitutional review. I'm a member of the Senate Committee on Constitutional Review, and we went around the country, held public hearings, and took views of Nigerians on the vexed issues of insecurity in Nigeria. And from what we gathered from across Nigeria, majority of the people, almost everybody on the issue of state security gave the nod, because the idea is for us to be safe. If we're to be safe, then we'll start thinking about how to improve on security. State police was one of the things pointed out to be something that to help out in the difficulties, because a state police is reasoned to be closer to the people. And if we have a state police that is closer to the people, that the tendency will be, and objectively true, that people will be acting more patriotically in their areas of jurisdiction, unlike the present central policing we have, where somebody from Maiduguri will be posted to Rivers State as Commissioner of Police. Somebody will be posted from Kaura, Namoda, or Zamfara State to go and become Commissioner of Police in Anambra State. So all those things were all looked at, and we felt that if we bring police down nearer to the people by establishing the state police, you will now have somebody who is from a particular state being in charge of the police in that state. And if you are from that state, you will be more patriotic, because you will not allow that level of insecurity in your home state. So many things were argued and considered. So before arriving at the need to establish this state police service, everything was put into place. Like you also said, how do you put the guardrails so that somebody will not abuse it? People have continued to talk about the governors becoming very powerful, using the apparatus of the state police to harass citizens, particularly political opponents. Yes, such concerns may be there, but the important thing is, how do we make policing effective? Intelligence gathering, crime control, how do we make it much more effective than we have now? Because what we have now is not serving the purpose. And that's how even the president also gave a strong support to this, because he's the chief security officer of the country. And I'm sure he has not been happy with the breakdown of security in Nigeria over time. Everybody reasoned together to come to this.
Yeah, distinguished, without trying to, before my colleague comes in, I try to look at the cons. I think we can all agree on what the pros are. It's inevitable. We need state police. But given where we operate in, I chose, maybe with other people as well, but I chose to look at the caution signs that we need to look at, the things we need to look out for, so that we don't spoil this great idea of state police. And I'm going to read that provision against that was altered in section 214. Is an addition to it, I don't know. The legality, scope, duration, and conduct of an intervention under this section shall be subject to judicial review, and no intervention shall dissolve a state police service or suspend the elected institutions of a state except in accordance with this constitution. What was the thinking of the legislators when they were writing this particular provision? Is it to curb the incidents where the president would not do what he did in Rivers State by suspending elected officials that got to the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court didn't really intervene. They just gave their own opinion. So they neither said it can or it cannot. So is that the thinking of this provision? Because this is where part of the provision that says you cannot just wake up and choose to do things the way you are. This is how you have to follow through.
Yes, of course, this provision is in alignment with the state of emergency provision in the Constitution. Because now that we are going to have a federal police side by side with the state police, it will be necessary to ensure that the state police service functions without undue interruption by either the president or the vested authority in trying to take over the functions and services of the state police. Remember that this state police is going to be a creation of an act of the State House of Assembly. What we have just done is to do constitutional alteration to make it possible for state police to be established. The federal government is not going to run the state police. The state police will be run in accordance with the acts establishing it by the state houses of assembly. So when that begins to happen, this provision is provided to ensure that when the state police command becomes incapable of dealing with a security threat that will snowball into a national security problem, the president will, in writing, request and put in place an intervention that will take the responsibility. The federal police will now move in to take over the functions of that state police service. In this case, no longer a command. It's a police service because it's existing by creation of the law. For you to be able to move in and take over the functions of a state police, there will be need to follow established guidelines. And what we added in that provision is that for the president to do it, even if he directs the federal police service to move into any state to take over the functions of the state police service, he must refer it to the National Assembly. The National Assembly, like in the case of state of emergency, must be able to approve it so that know that this state police service and the federal police service is like giving effect to the police service function in a federation where the state police service will have its powers to be able to deal with issues of internal security in the states, you know. So it's not going to be at the whims and caprices of the president to wake up in the morning and direct an action to go and take over the police services in a state. There must be an underlying conditions and factors that will make it happen. Because if we are going to have a state police service, we should be able to allow the state police service to function, particularly as it will be created by the act of the State House of Assembly. So this separation of powers need to be guarded very jealously for it to be effective.
And you're right on that. It's the functionality that really matters. And perhaps that informs the concern of some who say that even the current architecture, security architecture, should inspire what a state police would look like. But let's go to what the guardrails are looking like. And that's, you know, part of decision making. It must anticipate problems. It appears as if the appointment has been guaranteed to be taken care of by both the governor, on the recommendation of the National Police Council, and a governor also, from this document, cannot unilaterally sack a state police commissioner. It has to be, subject to the scrutiny of the National Police Council. But what are the guarantees that the National Police Council itself is independent? Who appoints members of the National Police Council?
Well, to start from the beginning, the State Police Service Commission will start the process of selecting somebody who becomes the head of a state police arm, of police arm. The Constitution is talking now about commanders, no longer commissioners of police. The state police service shall be headed by a commander, and that commander who will be appointed will first of all be recommended or suggested to the National Police Council by the State Police Service Commission. People who are qualified that can be so appointed, they make such recommendation to the National Police Council. It is National Police Council who now look at the people recommended by the State Police Service Commission and decide on the person to choose to recommend to the governor to appoint the person. And when the person is recommended by the National Police Council to the governor will still take that person's name to the State House of Assembly for confirmation. All these things will provide a lot of safety guards in making sure that the person who will be appointed will not be at the whims and caprices of the governor of the state. The governor is not going to suo motu announce that he has appointed a commander of police in his state. You have to go through the process, go through the National Police Council, come back, and then go to the State House of Assembly for confirmation. So if these safeguards are put in place, we have to allow the process to run. Remember that the National Assembly is always there. When we try something and it's not working, every law, including the Constitution, will be subject to amendment by an act of the National Assembly. So I think that instead of trying to pick holes and generate grave concerns about this and how the governors will become the headmaster in the police service, we should allow it to start. Because by the time you start, you see that the governor's powers are limited in doing this. And for the fact that the police personnel in that very state are indigenes of that state, it's not something the governor can start doing without a challenge from the indigenes of that state. If you don't put a proper and fit person to provide security that will concern all and sundry in the state, there are reasons for people to cry out. And you see also that there is also a provision for judicial review. If somebody does not agree with what has happened, he can go to court. Institutions can go to court to challenge any part of the process, to ensure transparency, to ensure that good people are selected to be in charge of security.
All right, there's more to explore with you. We could also talk about political calculations ahead of 2027, but we must anchor at this point, and thank you very much for coming on the program. We've been talking with the senator representing Anambra Central Senatorial District, Senator Victor Umeh. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you, Bukola. The state police should be given a chance. That is the only way we can bring policing nearer to the people. Every hamlet, every community knows the criminal elements among them. And it is by bringing policing nearer to the people that people will be involved in trying to nip crime, on the board. The police will not be overwhelmed anymore. Everybody knows his neighbor. Everybody knows the attitude of everybody around the society.
All right.
So let's give them support. Yes, it's a very great opportunity for Nigeria to rejig policing in Nigeria. It has worked in other countries. This one, we'll forget about what the governors can do and focus on the intention and the process. The whole thing will reform itself when it commences operation. And
we'll be back to ask members of the 10th Senate like you if this has been a promise kept. Security to every hamlet in Nigeria. Senator Umeh, thank you for coming on the Morning Brief.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a moment. When we return, we'll, weigh in further on the matter of security, this time at the subnational level. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Well, Nigeria is apparently changing with the, not signing yet, the passage of the bill for the creation of state police. Now, the work is now going to be on the state houses of assembly who endorse on otherwise, so that it becomes part of our ground norm, and then the president can sign. and then a new era opens for state policing in Nigeria. Now, let's talk to a subnational as to how they are receiving the news and what they are doing as far as security is concerned. Buggy Okoyemi is a spokesperson to the governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Okpebolo. Buggy, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Great to be with you guys in flesh.
It's good to see you in person.
After several virtual engagements.
After the argument over the governor's promises that I see double stand.
We are working on 2.5 million.
It will not happen. It will not happen.
We're working on it.
Tell the governor.
You agree with Jeffrey that it will not happen?
I'll keep laughing even when we achieve it.
Just tell the government it will not happen.
Okay.
I will tell him, I was wrong on TV.
Prophet Jeffrey, we'll confirm your anointing.
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Thank you.
Let's talk about how the state is receiving this move about state police. I know the governor is a big fan of the president. I talk so much about him. But, we've engaged senators, we've engaged stakeholders. We're trying to engage as many subnationals as possible. We're getting signals from the speakers of those houses of assembly saying they are going to go right away to endorse this so that it becomes part of our ground norm. But as a spokesperson of the governor, how is the state receiving this news?
Well, of course, the governor is very excited about it because the truth is a lot of states already practice a style of state policing already because, most states already have their local arrangements, because the truth is the police force as it's presently constituted can really not meet the necessities of the security challenges that we face today. Edo State, for example, Governor Monday Okpebolo has the successes we see today in Edo State from crime management efforts as a result of specific grassroots targeted strategies that the governor has initiated and has established. The challenge all along has just been the limitations to how far these arrangements can go. Like in Edo State, the governor has, reconstituted, revitalized, and, properly set up the Edo State Security Corps, which basically carries out some of these responsibilities in conjunction and cooperation with the Edo State Police Command. But of course, there are still several limitations that hopefully this law and this bill that has been passed will address. So it's a welcome development for leaders like Governor Monday Okpebolo, who already have designed a security strategy and security structure that is grassroots based. So this law further empowers him, to expand on those efforts. So it's a welcome development for the governor.
Although I don't agree with him on this 2.5, but there's something he said the other day that was very cheery to hear when he said, I think there was a video that was circulating, when he said he's going to work with the judiciary such that there can be some level of accelerated hearing. So if you found guilty of maybe kidnapping or terrorism in Edo State, for instance, and it's going to be legislated in the state, it's not going to waste time in signing the death warrant because a lot of governors shy away from signing death warrants. He went as far as saying, not just that you sign your death warrant or the person's death warrant, you'll make sure it happens on Ring Road. So talk to us about what is already happening. Was that just rhetoric or something is already going on?
So we're very happy in Edo State for the attention that whole, on Sunday, a woman was kidnapped in the heart of the city on Airport Road, Vegetable Market. That was a very sad one. And the governor immediately gave that directive that these people must be apprehended. And within a day, 24 hours, they were caught, the woman was recovered, they were caught, and, they were brought to book. We are excited for this attention it has attracted because we have consistently said Edo State is one of the safest states in Nigeria. A lot of people argued with that.
Yes,
coupled with the...
That's debatable.
Coupled with the preponderance of a lot of fake news. You see a lot of materials on social media purported to have come from Edo State. Meanwhile, they didn't come from there. So we are happy that this particular incident has shown everybody that crime management in Edo State is very effective and the people are living safer. So what has the governor done? While we may not be able to give specific details into security strategies, but I'll give you two general approaches that the governor employed, that Governor Monday Okpebolo employed, that has produced the results that we are seeing. One is the consciousness that security must be everybody's responsibility. That's just the reality. The way security is taken most times now with Nigerians is this tendency of we against the government. Something happens and everybody begins to attack the government. But security is everybody's responsibility because, firstly, security contributed, the society in some ways contributed to some of the things we're experiencing today. From the minute in our country where we began to celebrate ill-gotten wealth, where honest work was no longer emphasized, was no longer admired, when people with questionable income began to get chieftaincy titles, when people with questionable income began to get front row seats in religious gatherings. I mean, the failure of our morals is part of what has given birth to this. And it's important that whatever you are going to be doing must have the buy-in of the community. And that's something Governor Monteagudo has employed strongly. Secondly, he approaches security from three basic, he practices what we call practical governance. Governance that is based on homegrown practical solutions for homegrown problems. And his simple approach to security management is in three folds. There's no society that is 100% crime-free. As long as you have deviance in society, there's a propensity to crime. But what Governor Okpebholo has done, his approach is in three directions. One, prevention. Make it very difficult for the crime to happen. Very difficult. So even if somebody has the thoughts of committing crime, he should find it very difficult to achieve that. Secondly, if at all he succeeds, the crime must be solved. There must be a solution to the problem, to the crime that was committed. And thirdly, after it has been solved, there must be adequate punishment. There must be adequate prosecution to give justice to the victims and to serve as a deterrent. And that has influenced all of the actions that he has taken, from equipping the police force and other security agencies with materials, vehicles, communication gadgets, funding, logistics, to setting up the Edo State Security Corps, initially with 2,500, and now he has given orders that 5,400 more be recruited to add to it. Several activities that he has taken in strong collaboration between security agencies. I dare say, and that's for any other person to counter that, there are few states in Nigeria where there is a strong collaboration between all the security agencies like it is in Edo State. The governor is one governor who holds security meetings virtually every day, physically, virtually, formally, informally. He's constantly on top of the security situation. And a proof to that was recently when the DSS issued a circular informing other security agencies that they had gotten reports that certain elements were planning to abduct students from a school. And the governor, of course, moved very swiftly with the security agencies to ensure that that was contained. The schools were shut. Manpower was moved in, enough surveillance. Of course, the governor has also relied heavily on technology. And when that was secured, the schools resumed. That shows you the kind of collaboration that happens. Now, to the main part, which is that community engagement, it's very, very key. Until you get the community to get involved in, they shouldn't see it as a government thing. You won't get the results that you want to get. And the governor has done a lot with that.
We'll expand on community engagement shortly. While the approach that you have talked about, it's difficult to argue with that approach. Let's also talk about another approach deployed by Governor Monday Okpebholo, which some would term the political approach, and many have condemned the politicization of security because we're talking about human lives. And I'm referring to a recent rally where the governor was saying that if you kidnap, will you stop the president from politicking, without quoting him copiously? And that was frowned upon for many reasons. And, it's also likened to the comment that the Senate president had made at an earlier event earlier in the year, likened to a comment that the president himself has made that, it's the work of the opposition and the opposition will not stop him from campaigning. And we keep asking on, this particular program, is there something that members of the administration know that we do not know? So is there something that Governor Monday Okpebholo knows about those who are responsible for kidnapping, who are politicizing it, that we do not know? And will he be willing to name those who are involved, perpetrating insecurity in the country?
Yeah. We must temper down on celebrating headlines. I mean, the governor was in a rally where he spoke for a long time, and one statement was picked out, and everybody hampers on that. we must get the context in which that statement was made. Of course, it was a political rally. He was talking about the achievements of the president. He was talking about the things that the president has done, and also made reference to some of the challenges. And without a doubt, anybody who denies that is not being fair or objective, that some of this insecurity has political undertones. It didn't start with this administration. I mean, some of the people who perpetrated some of these things in the past have come out to say this was how this thing started, this was why we did it, it had political undertones. All may not be totally political. There are some that are definitely economic, like we've seen in Edo State, but it doesn't change the fact that there are certain security challenges we face that have political undertones. It's from a regular playbook. Make the one polity ungovernable, two, stir up enough crisis that would discourage the people from looking in the direction of this candidate in the elections. It happens. So what the governor said, like I said, is not pick that one statement.
Look in the direction of who in the election?
Of different candidates. Now this candidate is the one who sits.
Now you're getting very suggestive.
Yeah.
If the destination or the objective is to get the electorates to look in the way of the other candidates in the election, you're suggesting also that the opposition is responsible. So would you or your principal be willing to name these people who are responsible for deliberately making the country look ungovernable such that the opposition can get ahead in the coming elections? Those are very huge allegations because people are dying in their hundreds.
Yeah.
The record says Nigeria is the 5th most unlivable place in the world due to insecurity. So those are huge allegations. Would you, your governor, and the administration be willing to back these allegations up?
Like I said earlier on, it is common knowledge that some of these things have political undertones. It's not the governor's responsibility to announce security and say, oh, this is who's responsible. He has said what he has said. It's not different from what several other people have said. And if the people demand answers, I think the people should go to the right quarters, the police, the security agencies.
You are the spokesperson of the governor.
The governor
Your
is
governor has made some suggestions. So we'll be asking you as well, because you have his ears. Don't you have the ears of Governor?
Yeah, my point is the governor is not the DSS director, DSS.
Oh, the governor is the
IG
chief security officer of Edo State.
Yes, in terms ceremonially, the governor is not in charge of security.
Not ceremonially, Mr. Boogie. You just said that Governor Kwebolo holds security meetings almost every day.
Yes.
So that is not a ceremonial activity. That's not a ceremonial position or issue of consequence. That is holding power in his hands.
So the point we always try to make, the point we always try to make is that it's laughable, it's almost obnoxious that the president, the Senate president, the governor, all of these guys will know who is responsible, and they will still stick and say, we know, but we'll still go on what we're doing. You get the drift.
Like I said, firstly, we must be careful about headlines. We need to get the context in which some of those statements were made. That's one. Two, that we say a situation has political undertones does not necessarily mean you might know exactly who did it, but you know the elements.
So why are you making the allegation that are unfounded if you don't know?
That's secondly. I mean, sometimes we don't give the police and the security agencies enough credit for the work that they do.
But that's not true. We do give them enough.
I said sometimes, and I'm not referring to you specifically. Some people don't give the security agencies. When criminals are arrested, interrogation is done, questions are asked, details are gotten. They won't come to the public to reveal some of the information that they have gotten from these people for security reasons. People are interrogated. They explain where they get their arms. They explain how they got into this. They explain how they did whatever they did. And those are conversations that will remain within security circles to aid their operations. That's on one side. Like I was reiterating, the governor is governor of Edo State. He's not the IG of police. He's not the commissioner of police. It's not his responsibility to, his work and his responsibility to security is to the extent that his people are
maybe he has to
secured.
refrain or restrict himself to his state to talk about the policing in his state.
No,
because what you're saying is that he's had a lot of meetings. It was a political rally where he was making, of course, he's supporting the president. He has not hidden that. Yeah. And he was reinforcing that statement about to all these guys who are trying to make this state ungovernable for the president. It's not going to happen. He said, even if you kidnap me and my deputy, we will still do what we have to do. So when you stand on the podium in public to make those kind of statements, that means you have an idea. If you don't have an idea, why are you making such allusion?
Of course.
And I'm not saying he's the only one that does it.
Yeah. When you say he has an idea, I don't want us to overflog this. I hope I have enough time to still talk about the things he's done in the Edo State.
Yeah, you have been doing that.
Yes, you know. But one, like I said, it's a political rally. Two, it was a long conversation. You can't just pick one statement. You need to go and look at all of what he said that led to that point where he made that statement. And like I said, we are all public commentators, you know, including the governor. He can make comments on things that are, but to ask him to specifically name who's responsible, that's a responsibility of the
is the administration,
agencies.
the ruling party, because all those who have made this similar comment or narrative around insecurity are members of the administration, the president, the Senate president, your governor. So if they refuse to name names, are they covering up the opposition, those who are responsible in this administration? Because as they say, dogs don't eat dogs. Are they covering up members who are responsible for insecurity?
I reiterate once more, it is not their responsibility to provide the information you are asking for. I think what is most appropriate is IG of police, the DSS, the other security organs. Look at what this governor said. Look at what the Senate president said. Look at what you guys are the ones who are running security. What information can you provide? Firstly, how true is it? Two, if it's true, what have you done? So I think you should direct the questions to the right question. The governor is not the one who tells you.
If anybody will be following up, if anybody will be following up on this, they will be asking the president to back up his allegations. They'll be asking the Senate president and your governor to back up their allegations, because they are the ones that have alleged.
I reiterate that even if they have that information, it's not their responsibility to provide it. There are authorities who are responsible.
The reason why we're going back,
we disagree with you. If you make such an allegation right here on the program, the DSS will come after you and ask you to back up that allegation.
When it's now time to announce the result of that investigation, it is the DSS that will announce it, not the government is not going to climb a podium or go on TV and say, from there. This is who's responsible for security, is this person that you won't.
I want to move on from there, but the points, the back and forth we're having here is the fact that those of us who are journalists and I'm sure citizens are tired of politicians playing with us. That's what it looks like. As you said, it is not this administration. In past administration, they also will say the opposition. So it's like politicians take turn to make the country ungovernable for themselves. But we are the victims. So if anybody is trying to always say who is responsible, if you can't tell us who the person is, please don't say anything, so that we just leave the work to the security agency.
Public commentators, everybody has the right to speak about the country. I mean, if you can criticize the government,
some journalists will ask questions, and those who are public commentators also have the right to ask questions amid all of this. And so if there are allegations, as they say, he who alleges must prove.
True.
All right, so let's talk about, there's one particular area I'd like you to speak to as to what the governor, because you're here to speak for the governor, is doing when it comes to cybercrime. Edo was, will I say is, because you say it was. So the issue of cybercrime, I mean, Yahoo is a big issue in Edo State. And then the issue of cultism. Edo was notorious and is still being troubled by that incident. In fact, I think, was it Auchi? I've forgotten the exact. I don't want to quote what I'm not sure of. But you know what I'm talking about. So, since he took over office as governor of the state, this is a year plus now, what in specifics has he done, besides what you've explained, beautifully explained, in terms of cybercrime? Because it looks like more economic than even the other way around. And then the issue of cultism.
Community engagement. You must get the people involved in the fight by cooperation and by compulsion. The carrot and the stick. On one hand, you encourage them. And what's an example of what the governor has done in terms of getting the co-op? I mean, security in Edo State now, everybody is involved. The communities are involved. The security agencies are involved. The corporate organizations that function in the state, everybody is involved. Families, the churches, everybody is involved in security as it is presently. One of the things the governor did, which has been very helpful and been very novel in terms of cooperation, has been the see something, says the whistleblower policy. See something, say. These security agencies work with information. No matter how sophisticated a security agency is, even in the most developed clients, without necessary actionable information, they can't do much. So unless the people are willing to volunteer information, it becomes so. The governor initiated the whistleblower policy, where anybody who provides actionable information that will lead to either the prevention or the solving of a kidnapping or any other violent crime will get 5 million naira.
Really?
Yes.
I should be in Edo State.
You should. But the thing is that if you come now, you will see, you may not make money because most of the criminals have run away. So you won't have information to give. Then for cultism, if you can provide any information that helps, solve the cult-related crime, it's 3 million naira. So now these cultists live within us. People know where they live. They know who that guy is. They know that's the guy who terrorizes. But the fear all along. But now with this added incentive, you are seeing people coming out.
Are they safe after they blow the whistle?
Of course. I mean, you can't initiate a successful whistleblower program if there's no concrete arrangement to protect, the providers. And the police officers, the security agencies also do very detailed investigation. The governor always adds that everybody is be responsible for what you say. You can't say because you want to set somebody up and then there'll be detailed investigation to get that. So that's on one side. Another thing the governor has done has been, of course, like I said, bringing the communities into the security networks. The governor is working with the hunters, he's working with the vigilantes in communities, he's working with the Edo State Security Corps, everybody. When I say at this point, we're having a situation in Edo State now where, of course, he amended the laws against anti-cultism and anti-kidnapping with stiffer punishments. That was what led to the statement he made where he said, if you are convicted of a violent crime, you will be killed, you will be hanged. He said that will lead people to watch you, which takes us back to how we used to be. When children see something like that, it registers something in their mind against crime, and it's really been quite helpful. Even entertainers now, in fact, just a few days ago, I saw a musical video that somebody, an Edo indigenous abroad did, and I had to tell somebody to translate it for me because it's a language I don't speak, and he was saying, he was appealing to the youths and saying, please, I beg you, because one of the provisions of that law is that any property that was used in the planning or the committing of a violent crime that leads to death will be brought down. And he has done several. Everybody knows he's not joking about that. I mean, one of the, in quote, cult groups, one of the organizations that has been fingered a lot in some of those cult activities had their headquarters brought down in Benin City. I mean, everybody knew that he wasn't joking. Now you are having parents appeal to children. So like I said, that musician was saying, he was appealing to the youth that please stay away from crime. Don't get involved. So that the house your brother in Europe suffered to build will not be brought down. So that community engagement has been very, very helpful. Everybody in Edo State is involved in managing.
So we're watching a scorecard. We're watching and saying, like I said, the notoriety of Yahoo. That's
also the same.
And the issue of cultism. Edo State was notorious. Benin City especially notorious for cultism. We hope we can
to
get
quickly
it done.
add, recently there was an incident where somebody was shot at the University of Benin main gate. I'm sure you saw that everywhere. If it was before, by now we should have been counting like 20, 30 people dead. Reprisal attacks. Everywhere was quiet after. Nothing, no, which is the first time that.
Wish the government the very best. We're still watching and saying, and we want Nigeria to be safe. Exactly. We're not perpetrators of bad news, even though they say media likes bad news. But if somebody is doing well, we will commend. If you're not doing well, we will criticize you effectively. Boogie, okay, man. Coming all the way to Lagos.
Thank you.
Spokesperson to Governor Mondo Pavola, who I know will not give the president 2.5 million votes.
You wait now. We've set a target. The governor is very strong. He has set a target. So we should all, when people set targets, you encourage them. I don't know why everybody seems to be attacking the governor for setting a target.
How many votes did the
he has set a target. Encourage him and wait to see whether he will hit it or not. Even if he does not hit it, you should also, I mean, we all complain about low voter turnout. And somebody has set a target that in Edo they want to get 2.5. Why are you attacking?
Wait, what is the contribution of Edo to the 11 million votes that the president got for the presidential
We need to have a different program to have that conversation, but encourage people who set ambitious targets. You don't attack them. I don't know why they attack the governor is.
I responded to the governor with facts and data. So thank you for coming.
Always my pleasure.
Always. Thank you. We appreciate you coming to Lagos. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take a break, and when we come back after this break, we'll switch gear. We're still talking to a politician this time. Bugu will say he's not a politician, but this one is a politician. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. So let's talk more politics now. Of course, we'll also be expanding the scope of our conversation to other issues, especially as they have to do with party politics and the 2027 general elections. Joining us now on the program is Mr. Ladipo Johnson, NDC chieftain and NDC senatorial candidate, Lagos Central Senatorial District, and of course, a very close ally of the NDC vice presidential candidate, Alhaji Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. Mr. Johnson, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to see you in our Lagos studio.
Thanks a lot. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. And I'm glad that today I have clarity on how to address you. You know, there's always contention over whether you are with the NNPP or you defected to the ADC or... Well, now we know it's NDC.
It's the NDC. I never moved to the ADC.
Okay, you never followed.
He went to the ADC. Senator Kwankwaso did. I didn't. I was in the NNPP. And then when the move happened to the NDC, then I tagged along, as with many of us.
This time you had conviction about tagging along.
I had my reservations about the problems being faced by the ADC at that time. I didn't think that it would be safe for us as a team to go into the ADC. Unfortunately, I wasn't in the country as at the time he took that decision. Not that I would have changed his mind, but before I traveled, I had told him my views about it. So I was shocked when I heard we were moving into the ADC. But it was just a short while before I think they saw enough to know that there were problems with the ADC. I hope they survive their problems, but they're real problems there, legal issues, etc.
So yours is informed, discerning followership, not followership blindly.
No, I'll always support, as long as I'm convinced about the person. I've been with Senator Kwankwaso now since 2013-14, and it's been a good relationship. I believe in his drive and vision, and he's wanting things to be better for the average Nigerian. So as long as we're on that track, it's all right.
All right. Let's explore other, topical issues now, one of which is state police, which has received a groundswell of support, predominantly amid all other reservations expressed by, other quarters in the polity. And we've seen it receive, speedy passage at the Senate level. And it appears as if the president is getting his flowers for taking this all-important decision. Not just getting the flowers, taking the shine off of criticisms by the opposition. And it appears as if it's going a bit further, advancing a bit further in securing victory at the polls in 2027, because he has done, in the words of some, what many past administrations had been unable to summon the political will to do.
Well, is it that they didn't summon the political will or that they had reservations? Even with this now, some people have reservations. Well, in Nigeria, you'd always have that, but there are many things that still remain to be dealt with. Excuse me. It doesn't happen overnight, I quite agree. But there are pros and cons towards having the state police. And I think we have to look at it. When you look at the framework, unfortunately, I think it was just last night or yesterday that we started getting details about the bill that was passed by the Senate. The bill it now goes to all the states because it's a constitutional amendment. And we need 24 states, which they will get, to pass the state houses of assembly to pass it, and then the president will assent it into law. It might take a while. It might also receive express passage by the states as well. So it might not take so long. But the bottom line is that it is a step. You see, when you have activities, fantastic. Something is being done. It will take us time to see whether it's a right step or a wrong step. But you said he's getting his flowers. Yeah, something is being done. But the problem of insecurity must be very holistic in nature. Tackling it must be holistic in nature. Now, this is one of the steps, but we have to look at it. are the states able to afford the wage bill that would come? Various issues. Of course, the main one, of course, they say the governors will utilize them, turn them into political arm, what have you. So all these things are there. So yes, it's a step. I would not quickly say that my views have changed actually. In the, I think 2003, those periods, I didn't believe in having a state police. As we've moved on and we've faced all of it, I'm considering it. Now it's going to be law, but I'm still at the stage I'm considering it and everything. But as I sit here, I cannot say to you that, it's going to solve the problem. No, I'm sure they're not saying it either. I don't think it will necessarily, on its own, solve the problems that we have. But it will help us in a way if properly implemented and accepted into the various states.
So maybe it's Jerry for the ruling party to hear an opposition figure commending them but for something they are doing.
Well, I commend that a step has been taken.
No, it's not going to kill anybody. But let's talk about this article that we saw. NDC chieftain, which is you, to Bayo Onanuga, Nigerians deserve answers, not insult. What were you trying to say? Because he granted that interview to his sister station and he got a lot of flaks. What were you trying to respond to him on this particular one?
No, basically put, I got information. I heard when His Excellency Peter Obi stated that he called for accountability, basically. And I always believe that those who are spokespersons or political analysts, I've been a spokesperson as well, I've been a party publicity secretary. I don't believe that we should begin each sentence by saying this person is childish, this person is foolish, this person is this. So I just felt that, look, if someone has raised an issue regarding government and saying that you have to be accountable, or saying you should consider resigning because of the situation in the country, then come out with your facts, talk about it and everything. You don't have to try to demonize constructive criticism. And unfortunately, for a few years now, a lot of us in the opposition have felt that, rightly or wrongly, that this government and the team around this government have taken any constructive criticism to be an attack on the government. It's democracy. If we don't have to agree all the time. And part of democracy is that you must be able to take criticism and say, okay, yes, I take it on board, but I still believe I've done the right thing because of so, 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 and so. But that's basically what got me doing that, got me to do that. And of course, I tried my best. I'm sure I didn't hurl any insults at all. I just said that government had to, it was wrong to demonize especially in our present situation.
So somebody was on the show yesterday, I think it was Mr. Bouquet. So do you also subscribe to his position? I know you're a very civil guy. Mr. Bouquet said Mr. Onanuga is more of a very sound veteran journalist, but is horrible at PR. That just trying to manage my words on how you put it so that...
Well, you wonder at times, what's our friend's name that was with President Buhari?
Femi
as well. Yes. You see, when they get there, it seems that it's...
But you're going there.
Well, I'm going to
Johnson.
Well, by God's grace, I'm going to the Senate. Oh. Not there.
What's the difference?
No, the difference is I'm representing...
It's an elite club.
I'm representing my constituents, by God's grace. But when you're speaking on behalf of a person, at times the characteristics, should I want to be careful here. The beliefs of that person begins to take a hold on your approach to your talking to the public and your interaction with the public. If the principal is short-tempered and doesn't care for criticism, constructive or otherwise, you see that the person is under pressure, and he is short-fused as well when he makes comments on or is replying to comments about his principal. So at least I'll be slightly more independent, by God's grace, in doing whatever I have to do for my constituents.
Well, you know what they say, that something happens to the political class when they get to that high office. It appears as if their thinking changes and their circle, or circles as the case may be, change. Well, we know that your phones will still be open to us when you get definitely. There, if you get there. But let's talk about politics. And this is another very interesting conversation. Surprisingly, former ally of your now presidential candidate and your principal, I believe, Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, had said that a vote for Mr. Peter Obi is a vote for the APC. And he has gone ahead to make other allegations about the primaries, about a certain aspirant who was ripped off, who allegedly had to pay a bribe and still lost the primaries. And of course, Mr. Peter Obi has slammed him with a 5 billion naira lawsuit. Talk to us about your own primary process in relation to all of these allegations, because what it looks like from the outside is that some well-placed persons were able to secure the primaries, but those who didn't necessarily have godfathers within the NDC circle didn't get the primaries. Aisha Yusufu did not get the ticket, rather. And
I was just going to use her case to counter that.
And you were close to Alhaji Kwankwaso. Is that what got you the?
Aisha Yusuf,
is that what got you the ticket, by the way?
Hang on, Aisha Yusuf is very close to Peter Obi. So if she didn't get the ticket, that runs counter to the fact that it is only those who are closer to maybe the principals that got the nomination. But back to the whole entire thing, I think Kenneth Okonkwo is almost like cheap blackmail, almost, because Peter Obi had nothing to do with your getting a nomination. He was after his own, you understand, and he had nothing to do with getting involved, saying this person is mine, that person is not mine, etc. That didn't happen. And I don't know the particular person he's talking about or the event he's talking about. I went through the process as well. And in fact, I had someone opposed to me. We actually ran primaries as well on the field. And so if you go for your primaries on the field, the fact that you're coming from or you're friends with Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso, or you've been working with him, doesn't help you in Etiosa or Sule or Yaba. You understand? So, but I know that there were issues by various people. So quite a few people complained, and it's natural, unfortunately, because it's a new party, and we all came in from different places, different parties, different movements, and what have you. And I think that the numbers were incredible in such a short time, and maybe the party struggled along with the amended Electoral Act, where you had such a short time. We had to get our candidates out by the 30th of May. In such circumstances, it is normal. It is normal, it is to be expected that for a new party, they'll have teething problems with the primary process. But I don't think it got to the stage of where I don't know about the bribes or what have you, but those, as you said earlier, those who allege must prove, you know. So I was listening to you, you know, so that's it. Yeah, it was a difficult process, but by and large, of course I complained about some things as well, but by and large, the National Working Committee and the others, they did their best within such a short time.
All right. We have more questions to ask as far as what transpired on the field, but we have just another destination to touch on the program, so we must wrap this up at this particular point in time. But we thank you for coming through on the conversation and for coming to Lagos. It's been good to see you, sir.
He's living in Lagos now.
Yes, I'm living in Lagos, and I have to be in Lagos for the next few months.
Right, ahead of the elections. All right, we'll keep our eyes on that process as well. Mr. Ladipo Johnson is an NDC chieftain and the NDC senatorial candidate for Lagos Central Senatorial District. You have our best wishes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on the program. We'll take a moment now. When we return, Cecilia Omorogwe joins us for a review of World Cup sporting action. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. It's all clear for Morocco, South Africa, and Cote d'Ivoire as far as the round of 32 is concerned, which is a knockout stage. Because of the new model of the World Cup, Cecilia Omorogwe, who is the expert here, is right here in the studio. Cecilia, good morning.
Good morning.
So we have 10 people that went for this World Cup, 10 countries. 3 called cleared for the next round. The others fighting. Tunisia, literally out of the window. So we can say maybe 6?
Yeah, six fighting. Yeah.
Would you say we have done well so far?
I think so, because, you know, there's a first for all of them. You know, we know Morocco got to the semi-final, so the Moroccans were not really in the debate. So we're talking about those that will go home first. We thought South Africa would be the first to pack their bags and go. No one expected Tunisia to actually be the first to go, even after 2 games. Based on the fact that they scored about 22 goals in qualifiers, didn't lose a game, but then ended up conceding how many? 12, you know, at the World Cup, and they're home. They needed at least a win against Netherlands, which was going to be a very tall order, having lost to Sweden, you know, losing to also losing their second group game to Japan. Of course, the next one was supposed to be like, let's see what they can do against Netherlands. But then I think that was their best game they played last night. As of this one, that's the best game they played so far. They lost 3-1 and ended up conceding 3 goals. But at least they played with pride, because Netherlands could have, you know, put them to the gunners as early as, I don't know, maybe as much as 6 or 7 goals, because they had a lot of shots, you know, on target, about 20 of it. They're out. So you have South Africa for the first time. You know, the celebration was as if they won the Africa Cup of Nations or something.
No, I was actually one of those who supported.
Okay.
I'm not happy what they're doing. Yeah. But I'm rooting for the entire continent.
Okay. It was very African all through. Yes, I remember.
Would you have been happy if South Africa had lost?
No, not really. I mean, I wanted African teams to progress, because at 10, you know, people were, I listened to some pundits who were actually saying why FIFA give us so much. I mean, you have 48 teams participating at the World Cup. So when it comes to football, Asia is not as good as Africa. When you go to Oceania, I mean, they're not even close. So who else are you going to give that if not African? So I think the beef now, we wanted it to be justified and say you're not just bringing in everybody. I mean, it's been very, very competitive. I mean to say the only was it ridiculous? No, was Curaçao and Germany. Yeah. Of course, you expect that to happen 7-1, but then the fact that they could even score, you know, was a plus for them. So we've seen that for us in Africa, we wanted something that people can say, yes, they didn't just give them the slot for nothing. So 3 already in. We have Ghana, of course. Egypt is up in your group. There's a possibility Egypt to qualify. Ghana also in the pole position to qualify. You also have what are the other countries? You know, most of them. Senegal can still qualify, you know, because of the victory. Nicolas Pepe, you know, what he did last night, and we're able to, no, not Nicolas Pepe. I'm talking too many things at the same time. But you know, you see have teams that could actually qualify. So it tells you that our African teams, you know, have the possibility. We have the possibility of having close to maybe 7 Yeah, 7, in the quarterfinals. Let's just see how this final round of games will go and see how many we can have at the end of the group stage.
So in contention, Senegal, Egypt, Cape Verde, Ghana, Algeria,
they're all in contention to actually get into the round of 32.
So for those who are in this round now, who are you queuing behind? Which team are you queuing behind to go a bit far? I don't want you to mention Morocco.
Why are you beating Morocco?
Yeah, I think actually, I mean, of all of them, we've seen how they played. Of all of them, Morocco is actually one that we go that far. We've also seen what... No, I won't put Cote d'Ivoire in the mix because Morocco is facing Netherlands in a round of 32. So should they beat Netherlands, that means they can go all the way. If they don't beat Netherlands, of course, obviously they're going home. So another team I can also mention is Egypt. I've seen the way Egypt have played. They've been very tidy, and that tells you a whole lot what they can actually do. South Africa can go far. But the next opponent is Canada, so Canada wouldn't want to go home so easy, on Sunday. But then let's see, the hosts wouldn't want to go home. But they lost their last group game. I thought they could have been able to win that match, but they couldn't win it. So when you have teams when you have facing strong oppositions like that, you really can't see. But I think Egypt is a team. Egypt, you say I shouldn't pick Morocco. I think Egypt can go far. I don't trust Senegal because they play very well, but somehow, in the final moment, the way they concede the goals, that's something I'm afraid of. If you go back and watch the game they played against France, they played well, but the result wasn't a true reflection of how they played. So you have to be really focused that 90 minutes and not to concede some goals and see how you can, just be awake the whole 90 minutes and then get your tactics right. So I wouldn't bring in Senegal into the mix. But I think Cote d'Ivoire, Cote d'Ivoire.
There's no way we can ignore Morocco.
I mean, she said I shouldn't mention Morocco, which she's already said that.
She doesn't like Morocco.
Okay, you don't like them.
Because I don't like Morocco, but because of past performances, we can give them credit.
They're the best in Africa.
We should be rooting for, and not because they're some of them are from the West African sub-region, but, for what their performance has looked like in recent times and how far they can go. That's why I'm asking that question.
Because they are in fact, in terms of performance, how far an African team has gone, Morocco is the highest.
It's the highest.
They got to the fourth.
So that's why they're also favorites to go far.
Let's root for a small country that I like so much, Cape Verde. What's your prediction? How? Even if they stop here, I think they've done well.
Yeah, they've done well, really. It's their first appearance.
They've not lost.
Just check all the African countries that have been to. South Africa, this is their 4th World Cup. They are getting into the round of 32 for the first time.
For the first time.
Cote d'Ivoire too, for the first time. So you're looking at this country. Egypt finally got their first win at the World Cup. So Cape Verde, bro, compared to other African countries that have been in, I think they've really done well. Because for you to come to the World Cup and pick up your points, it's really not easy at all. So Cape Verde, if they live here, I mean, they've done justice to
You've not mentioned our neighbor at all, Ghana.
No, we've talked about Ghana. Ghana. What Ghana did to England is what I love. I mean, I can't score you won't score me. So the goalless game they have, the Ghana on 4 points. I mean, just behind England. So it shows Ghana obviously will be in the round of 32. Except I don't know the calamity that will happen, but I'm sure Ghana. Ghana is just one of Ghana. Egypt already. Ghana, I mean, there's just one leg in the round of 32.
Ghana went to the Juju priest. You see, remember it's for real. There's a guy they call the Juju priest.
Juju really works for football, right?
I don't know, but it's all part of the. It's all part of what was. I think I saw the interview on the BBC or one of the international stations where the man was asking him, so can you now free Harry Kane to score since he didn't score against Ghana? Cecilia Morogwe, who will win this World Cup? 3 countries at the tip of your finger before we go. 3 you are looking at likely winners for this World Cup.
Brazil, Germany, and France.
Brazil, why are you not mentioning Africa? Be patriotic.
Why are you not mentioning Argentina?
Please put an African country
I don't want to act like the Moroccan coach who says the way they've been playing, they went through the group stage unbeaten and they're round of 32 and then they can actually, win the World Cup. Since they won the under-20, under-20 is very close to the World Cup. It's
Cecilia Morogwe, always a delight to have you on the program. Thank you so much. We'll be touching base with you regularly, maybe weekend, so that we'll get to find out what's going on at the World Cup. Thank you. And that's it on the program. Thanks for your time and company. Enjoy your weekend. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.
Well, keep a team that you're rooting for, an African team. Mine is Ghana. Wherever they go in this World Cup, I'm supporting them. But we're back again on Monday. Thank you so much for your time and company all through the week. Sunrise Daily is up next. I am Bukola Koka.